Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Digital Classroom. Now we are waiting to see if everything works, and I already see that we have a healthy stream on YouTube and probably also on Facebook Live. So welcome to this special episode of Digital Classroom. Now what are we going to do today? It's Christmas. It's not really yet Christmas time, but with us in the studio it's Christmas time because hey, I still have to get all those emails out with the Christmas picture, and you know what? We have such a busy schedule, I didn't have time to create an image this year. It's ridiculous. So we decided we have still 2 hours of Digital Classroom. Let's create in the Digital Classroom the image for our Christmas card. In all essence, it's of course more to teach you guys some questions that we got in. So enjoy today's episode of Digital Classroom, guys. Let's start with our intro. And we're back. Now, Digital Classroom is made possible by BenQ and Rogue. Now, Rogue, of course, you all know, those are those really cool accessories for your small strobes, your system strobes, or your small flash, or your speed lights. They even have a flash bender with my name, the Frank Dorel flash bender, so that one has to be great, right? Well, okay. Anyway, so Rogue is great for the accessories for your flash bender, for example, to make it a strip light or a grid or a softbox. And of course, they have these really cool gel systems. They have, even now, they have pads where you can land your drone. Just check them out online on Expo Imaging. They're really awesome. The other company is BenQ. BenQ, of course, delivers great monitors for you guys, photographers, videographers out there, and of course also gamers. If you don't have a BenQ monitor in gaming, somebody told me you are not really gaming. So yeah, that's why you have to have a BenQ monitor, of course. And the cool thing is BenQ already extended their license for Digital Classroom to 2018. That means, yes, guys, for another year we have Digital Classroom. Hey, that's awesome. Okay, so today we are going to create our Christmas card. But what's the reasoning behind that Christmas card? It's actually a little bit different. Now, last week somebody emailed me and he said, Frank, how do I shoot skaters on the ice with the lighting of the city? Or how do I create an image where you have, for example, tungsten light and you combine it with strobes? That's a little bit of a problem sometimes, because how does it work? Because with strobes, you of course fire the strobe at your model and that's it. And of course, when you do your continuous lighting, you need high ISO. And how do you combine those two? It seems like they're different worlds. It seems like Jurassic Park meets the Smurfs. It's difficult. In essence, it's not. But first, and that's why we don't do it on the set yet, I want to explain some basics to you guys. The first thing you have to realize is that every different light type has a certain color temperature. And what is the color temperature? It's literally really simple. Bear with me. If you have a low color temperature, like for example 2000 degrees Kelvin, that's actually a little bit reddish. Now, if you have a high color temperature, let's say 9000 degrees Kelvin, that's a little bit bluish. Now, in the middle, there's something called white. And in photography, we often calibrate our monitors on that perfect white spot, also D65 or 6500 or 6500 degrees Kelvin. Now, outside, it's about 5500 degrees Kelvin. It can be 6000 degrees Kelvin. It's around that area. So let's say that neutral, what we see as neutral daylight, is in that 5500 and 6500 degrees Kelvin. Everything below is more reddish, everything above is a little bit more bluish. Now, did you ever wonder why, for example, a reflector has a golden area? It's not because it's more expensive, no, of course not. It's because if you have a model in the shade and you want to balance the shade with the sun has a totally different color temperature than the shade. So what do you get? If you balance your model with an X-Rite color checker, of course, if you balance your model in the shade, C will be more blue. That means that everything outside, if you balance it on that blue, will just look funky. Let's call it that. So, by bouncing in the golden light, you actually raise the temperature, or don't you raise the temperature? And that's where a lot of people go wrong. You actually lower the temperature because you pump in warmer light. So you make sure that the shadow areas get that golden light, so it lowers the temperature and it mixes with the ambient light in the sun a little bit better. That's also why if you are still using omni bounces, you actually have the golden one, that's for tungsten light, and that's for everything that's a little bit more reddish. You have the green one, that's actually for fluorescent light tubes, and you have the white one that makes everything a little bit softer. Now, I'm not a big fan of those. I prefer, of course, the expo imaging stuff, because in essence, with the omnibounce, you still have a smaller light source, and you want that light source to be bigger to create a little bit more nicer light. And with expo imaging and a lot of other brands, by the way, you make that light source bigger instead of making it small and just trying to diffuse it. What you actually do is you only take stops away. So that's why those colors are for. Now today we're creating a Christmas greeting card. And do I really want to mix my lighting with the strobes in color, or do you want to keep it the same? Now this is something that you have to determine before you do the shoot. So let me very quickly show you the setup. There we go. So this is the setup. Let me see. There we go. So you see the Christmas tree, actually pretty cool. But you now have to wonder for yourself, what do I want? Do I want that Christmas tree to be the same color as I strobe my model, or do I want that Christmas tree to be nice and reddish? Now in this case, of course, I wanted to give a little bit of move. I want to make sure that that Christmas tree actually is a little bit more reddish. So in this case, I'm not going to use any gels. Now, if you want to make sure that the light of your strobe mixes with the Christmas tree, that's when you actually start using gels. Now in this case, the Christmas tree is a little bit more reddish, of course, than the strobe. So you would use, for example, an amber gel or a warming gel, CTO gel, so a little bit more warm. Okay, but guys, as normally with Digital Classroom, you can, of course, ask any questions you want. And we already got some questions in, so let's see. We have Ineke and Fred. Hello, Ineke and Fred. And let me see. If you own a photo studio, how can you decide which color balance is best to use? Which lights on it's quite tungsten, but of course I always let the lights out. Okay, in a photo studio, the first thing you have to do is make sure that you have a neutral working environment. So no lights whatsoever. If you look at our photo studio, we don't have any lights that interfere with the strobes. They're a gazillion stops lower than the strobes. So we do have lighting, and even then we have most of our lighting actually hitting the walls or the ceiling, so it doesn't interfere with my photo shoot. Now in the past, and don't tell anybody this is our little secret. In the past, in our old photo studio, I had a problem. When I shot a model, I always had one side of the model a little bit more red, and it just frustrated the heck out of me. So I changed my strobes around, and I still got that red infection. And it wasn't huge, but I saw it, and it was just driving me nuts. And at one point I realized, like, oh no, this is so stupid. We had red curtains on one side of the studio and a normal white wall on the other one. So everything that reflected were actually the red curtains. At that point, I actually decided I'm never going to wear anything else but black or white. For the very simple reason, if you stand in front of your model, you will reflect back on your model. So if you're wearing a bright red shirt, that will reflect back on the model. So that's why you always see me wearing black. And in all honesty, black just looks better. It's cool. It's awesome. So that's what we have to do today. And that's the question that Johan actually asked me. So I hope that gave you the right answer. And by the way, if you are worrying about your color balance or your color temperature setting, there's an incredibly simple solution for that. And that's actually called, I don't have it here, but I have it on the set. It's called an X-Rite color checker. So just shoot that color checker, shoot it every single time, and then make your color balance based on that color checker. Okay, we're gonna switch over here. Anouk is gonna take my place, and we're gonna do the first setup with the Christmas tree. It's gonna be freaking awesome. Anouk, do you have any questions from Facebook Live?
No. Just highs.
Okay, just highs. Oh, okay. Okay, switch over here. And let me see if we still have audio. That's awesome. And after that, we can do that one. Great. Okay, Anouk, are you ready?
Hope so.
Okay. So I'm going to go to the set. And we have a beautiful model today. Let's keep her a little bit of a surprise. No, not really. Of course, if you do something extreme and you do something with Christmas trees, there's only one choice we can have, of course, and that's Miss Nadine. Nadine, how are you? And please stand on that side of the Christmas tree. So, we have Nadine on set, we have a Christmas tree, and we have the camera set up. So, how do we approach this? How do I work with an image like this? Well, the first thing you can do, of course, is determine, let's just shoot it on auto ISO. What is it, Annemiek? What's
You get the wrong camera.
Then you have to switch camera so I look in the right camera.
Okay.
That camera. Can you switch to that camera?
Yeah, you're now on the big one.
Okay. So what you have to do is make sure that you first determine what is the look that I want. Well, now we have a lot of lighting on. So let's just take one shot with the studio lighting on. So we use these LEDCO panels to actually light the whole set. So let's make sure that for now, we're just gonna take one shot the way that it is. So let me switch the camera back a little bit. Now I'm shooting on a tripod, or not really a tripod, I'm shooting on a stand. Now normally I'm not a big fan of shooting on stands, but for this set I actually have to do it because we're gonna use a longer shutter speeds. Okay, let's change to auto ISO. Let's focus on Nadine. Let's just lower to 2.8 and a low shutter speed. Let's say 1/20th of a second. Oops, and of course disengage the strobe. This is what happens when you shoot with strobes. As you can see, we have a big wide image. Okay. And there we go. So this is an auto ISO image. Let me change one camera so I'm actually in the frame. Because it seems that... Is that now right in the frame, Annemiek?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, I'm so multitasking. Okay, let's focus on Nadine. Let's take the shot. There we go. And as you can see, it's not really that interesting. It's a nice, cool shot. It's auto ISO, ISO 650, 640, sorry. And there we go. That's also why I don't really like shooting on a tripod, because it actually limits you. It gives you a little bit of a sense of, well, I have to be there, so let's shoot. And I like to have my camera in my hand so I can actually move around. And is the camera pointed right?
Yeah, little zoom.
I see everybody moving around and pointing and nobody does something, so that freaks me out a little bit. So sorry for that, guys. Okay, so we now have somebody operating the camera. And let me see. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you right? Awesome. Okay. So let's just aim this up a little bit, because as you can see on the top, I actually see a little bit of the luster light background. And this is, by the way, the limestone luster light. Really love those luster lights. They're awesome. Okay, there we go. Really nice. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, so on that tripod, it actually limits your movement a little bit. And duh, you're on a tripod, right? Okay, so let's now start by just disconnecting the ambient light and just use strobes. So I already set the strobes up. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to disengage auto ISO. So I'm going to go to ISO 100. Okay. And there we go. And are you on split screen with Capture One?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. My camera doesn't really want to do what I want to do. Okay, awesome. Okay, let's turn on the strobe very quickly. And there we go. Okay, it's scanning now. Let me grab my trusty light meter. Because the light meter, of course, is one of the most important things. Because without a light meter, you don't know how to set up your lighting. Okay, now of course I want that strobe to be on the lowest possible setting, because I have to compete with the ambient light. And it's gonna be a challenge. So let's see where it is now. 11.2. That's pretty high. So let's go down. And I'm going to go all the way down until it doesn't go any lower. Now with these light meters you can actually remote control your strobes if you have Allengram or Photix. Okay. 2.88, 2.89, that's about f4. So if I'm going to shoot this on ISO 100 f4, I'm actually going to have a pretty good setup. Okay, so I'm on manual. Let's go to f4 and let's just raise the shutter speed to 125th just to show you guys. There we go. So what I now done is I actually shot this image with Nadine, and now I have the proper setting for my strobes. But if you look at the Christmas tree, it sucks. Now, no, the Christmas tree doesn't really suck, but it doesn't give you that nice flowing light quality, right? It looks a little bit dull. So let's make those lights stand out. So what I have to do is now actually lower my shutter speed to, let's say, 1/8 of a second. There we go. So now what you will see is that I get a lot more ambient lighting. The only problem is we also have LED panels on. And those LED panels, they have to go off now. So we ask our intern if he can actually turn off all the LED panels. And there we go, that's one. And we have two, of course, because LEDCO was really good to us. We have 2 LED panels, and we also have some Fresnels. By the way, if you're interested, I can do a video on the continuous lighting we use in our studio. So just let me know if you're interested in that one. Okay, so let's see what we got. I'm still on 1/8 of a second, but now all the LED panels in the studio are off. And as you can see, you get a totally different image, so no infection. So that's what some people always ask me, like, okay, do you have light on in your studio if you do a light setup like this? No, we turn off all the lighting. But as you can see here, I still want more light out of this Christmas tree. Now, I can't make Nadine move around for the very simple reason I'm now at 1/2 a second. So 1, 2. It's a really low shutter speed. Okay, stand totally still, Nadine. Totally still. 1, 2. There we go. Now what you can see is that that Christmas tree emits more and more light. So the lower I go with my shutter speed, the more light comes out of that Christmas tree. There will also be a part where actually Nadine doesn't look right anymore, because now also the modeling light from the strobe will actually start to infect the image. If you don't like that, turn it off. In this case, I will leave it on, because I think that little bit of red from that modeling light will actually help a little bit by lowering the difference between the Christmas tree and Nadine. So in this case, I really like this shot. The only thing I like to do is make her look a little bit more towards the light. So if you turn around, I really like the balls in your head. I hope that translates well. Hey, I'm Dutch. Okay, let's keep it on 1/2 a second. And again, it's a really slow shutter speed, so it stays totally silent, Nadine. 1, 2. There we go, that's awesome. Okay, oh, that was my mistake. I just pressed a little bit too early. Okay, let's focus, make the composition. And this is really something you can't do handheld. Stay silent for just a second more, Nadine. 1, 2, there we go, that's awesome. Oh, that's nice. Okay, focus on her face, make the composition. And there we go. Now, if I look at the Christmas tree, there are some areas that are a little bit blown out, like on the top. And I want to take those out. So let's just raise the shutter speed just a little bit. Let's go to, instead of 1/2 a second, let's go to 1/3 of a second. Also makes posing a little bit easier, because it's a little bit faster. Nice, really like this. And again, I can't make my model jump at the moment, because that will absolutely destroy the image. Oops, that was my mistake. It's a little bit too fast. And there we go. And one more. Oh, that's cool. Okay, focus on her face. Make the composition. And shoot. Now, of course, I can still move around. Although I'm on a tripod, I have wheels, because I'm using the Lowboy roller from TerraTools. I really like that one. It's absolutely awesome. So let's make sure that I don't destroy my field of view. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, it's nice. Oh, you're going to be our Christmas card, Nadine. Awesomeness. Love it. And of course, if you want a little bit more attention for your model, which is always nice, just move around here. And this will be a more flat light setup. And now you have the Christmas tree in the back, which is also pretty cool. Ah, nice. Okay, keep it that way. And very fashionable. There we go. As you can see, constantly coach your model, tell your model she's doing great, and make everything positive, because that's how good photo shoot works. If your model is positive and you are positive, everything will work fine. If you constantly go like, oh, I don't like this shot, I don't like that shot, that will literally take the flow out of your photos. Awesome. Oh, you're gonna make it more sexy for me. Okay, that's nice. Let's lower the perspective a little bit. That's really cool. Let's zoom out just a little bit. There we go. There will be a little bit spill on the floor. Nice. I love it. As you can see, I really have to make my composition, because sometimes you see the top of the luster light. And everything fits nicely, so we didn't rehearse this, of course not. Sometimes that would be wise. But hey, that takes the fun out of it, right? And there we go. Okay, let's see what we can do with these in Photoshop. And then afterwards, we're also going to do a photo critique and of course a second set with a totally different look. So in a week we're going to switch again. So I'm going to sit behind the computer. And then we're going to take over the desktop.
There are some questions.
Oh, there are some questions. Let's first do a little bit in between about street and travel photography, because I really like that. New York, without a doubt, one of the most beautiful places in the world for street photography. In this video, Beyond Snaps New York, we're not only gonna show you tips and tricks about gear, getting great shots, locations, how to talk to people, and much more, but we're also gonna show you some places that you may or may not have heard of New York. How about 2 Chinatowns? You probably know one. We actually found another one that's way more interesting. How about a location where you can get great night shots? Or Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, Amityville. This video is jam-packed with not only photography tips and techniques, but also great locations to visit when you go to the New York area. I'm sure you're gonna enjoy this video. In my opinion, it's one of the best we ever made. So enjoy Beyond Snaps to New York. New York, without a doubt, one of the most beautiful places in the world for street photography. In this video, Beyond Snaps New York, we're not only gonna show you tips and tricks about gear, getting great shots, locations, how to talk to people, and much more, but we're also gonna show you some places that you may or may not have heard of New York. How about 2 Chinatowns? You probably know one. We actually found another one that's way more interesting. How about a location where you can get great night shots? Or Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, Amityville. This video is jam-packed with not only photography tips and techniques, but also great locations to visit when you go to the New York area. I'm sure you're gonna enjoy this video. In my opinion, it's one of the best we ever made. So enjoy Beyond Snaps to New York. And we're back. Hey guys, so we have some questions in, and I'm always gonna first do the questions. So here we go. Let me see. Good morning from Chula Vista, California. Good morning. Take the Christmas tree in your hands and embrace it. It's a little bit too big for that. I have a Macbeth color checker. Is that kind of similar to the one you use? Yes and no. The Macbeth is a large one, and it's also slightly older. And personally, especially now with the software that's so easy with the Color Checker Passport, I would just prefer everybody to use the Color Checker Passport because it's a really easy device and it just works. So yeah, that's what I would really advise you guys. Okay, somebody asked me, are you satisfied with the A7R III? I literally had the camera for 2 days, and those 2 days were workshops, so I don't know yet. What I saw from the camera, it was freaking awesome. It was really, really fast. The focus was spot on, and I'm still waiting for my own version. So I hope that somewhere this year I will get my version to play with. But up until then, I'm still using my A7R II. But I'm really looking forward to the A7R III, especially because finally you can now shoot wirelessly without actually losing your EVF. And that's one of my biggest gripes I had with the A7R II. So they solved that. I'm really happy with that. Okay, how do you avoid when using strobes that the strobes overpower the Christmas lights in the tree? Very simple. Lower your output of the strobes, raise the shutter speed. Okay, let me see. I use 2 seconds time to slow speed camera, not shake then. Yeah, what you can do is you can, of course, use remote controls on your app. Like, for example, for Sony, we have Play Memories Live, which is, Play Memories Live, which is absolutely awesome because then you can actually use a timer, you can set all other cool stuff, you can even tap focus. But in this case, call me old-fashioned, I just like to do it on a tripod and just very simple, just move around and shoot it without the use of any apps. And I don't know why actually, because the apps actually work better and faster because you can use the tap focus, but I don't know, I just like the feel of shooting my own images. Let me see, A7 camera. Do you switch off IS when on a tripod? It depends on the camera. Some cameras you have to turn off IS or use a certain function of IS to make sure that it doesn't interfere with your image stabilization. I believe with the Sonys, I never actually turn it off. I just leave it on and it always works. So maybe I'm frying my Sony, I don't know. But it always works. Let me see. When shooting these kinds of light on a tripod, do you have VR on or off? Okay, that's the double question. I always leave it on. Let me see. Okay, when you press the button, the Christmas tree is in focus now, so cameras shake a bit. Yeah, that's true. When you press the button, there's always a little bit of camera shake, so it's better to do that with remote control. So for now, I didn't do it, so probably some of my shots will actually be a little bit moved. But overall, normally just fix your camera and use a remote control. That's the best tip ever. So, okay, let's switch over and let's see what we can do with Photoshop. And I'm actually going to give you some tips in between too, of course. There we go. Okay, so first thing I always do is check which image I want to retouch. And I'm pretty harsh, to be honest. 1, 2. Okay, we still have audio. Okay, so the first thing I always do is determine which image I want to retouch. Now, let's see. This one, no. This one, oh, it is for all, just ignore. I don't know, sometimes. So, there we go. Now, these were the setup images, so we're not going to use those. Let's just save 1 or 2 in the end. As you can see, these are all with natural lighting or natural lighting, the continuous lighting, and it's okay. But this was only strobe, so you don't see the Christmas tree that well. Here we raised our lowered our shutter speed just a little bit, and there we go. Now with me, it's very simple. I immediately see if I like a shot, yes or no. It has to jump out to me, so I go through the images pretty fast. And as soon as I see something that I really like, I will give it 5 stars. Now, in the end, I can end up with several 5 stars. Now, I will tell you why I like this shot. This shot gives me a little bit of a sense of more fashion. It's not really a pretty model next to a Christmas tree. It's more like a fashion shot, or more like a Tim Burton kind of shot, which I absolutely adore. And these are okay, but they're not really what I was looking for. This is okay. Yep, always fun. This one is okay. I love this one, but it's a little bit too fashiony for what I want. This one is okay. Oh, really love this one. I'm not gonna give it 5 stars for a very simple reason. I'm gonna give it 5 stars now. Just kidding with you guys. Love it, love it. This one is pretty cool. Okay, so I always have Capture One set up for rating. So now I have 2 that I really like. And I actually love this one. Okay, let's just retouch those 2 really fast. Okay, the first thing you have to do is, of course, in your recipes, go to Photoshop with a TIFF uncompressed Adobe RGB and open Adobe Photoshop. So do process. And by the way, I'm retouching this on a Wacom Cintiq. Let's show you guys very quickly my setup for that. Okay, so I'm going to explain also what I do. Whoops. So I have this Wacom Cintiq over here. That's a big area where you can draw on and also, of course, can retouch. And on top, as you can see here, is a BenQ SW320. Now, the reason that monitor on top is very important, I'm going to explain to you in a second. But this is absolutely golden. If you are used to this, dude, I kid you not, you will never want to go back again. Because it's very, very addictive. Somebody actually once told me it's addictive as crack. I don't know if that's true because I never use crack, but I guess it's really true because it is addictive. You don't want to go back to any other form of retouching. So why that SW320 monitor on top? If you look at the Wacom is perfect in every single sense for retouching. However, if you look at shadow detail, especially shadow detail and deep color saturations, you see that the BenQ is way better. It's a totally different league. And that's no problem because the Cintiq is not designed as a high-end monitor. It's designed as a high-end retouching tablet and it performs that task perfectly. The BenQ, of course, is designed as a reference monitor. So that's why I always use Navigator on top of my, on the BenQ. So I have Navigator on the BenQ and I have my Photoshop open on the Cintiq. Now, what is Navigator? Navigator you can actually normally find, let me switch back to this so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so Navigator you normally find over here on the top. And what I actually did, let me drag it down, is I actually made Navigator small. Made Navigator really big, of course. And just dragged it on top of the other monitor. As you can see, Navigator is pretty big here. So let's close this one down for now. Okay, so Navigator is gone. So what you do is you go to Window and you actually go to Navigator. Now, normally Navigator would be on top here. And what I actually do is I just pick it up and I just drag it to the other monitor. You don't see that now, but now it's on the top monitor. The cool thing is now, as soon as I retouch something on my normal screen, I will actually see that on Navigator. Okay, so let's start with this image. Now, the first thing I always do is skin retouching. And with this one, as you can see here, we use the healing brush. Now, if you look at previous digital classrooms, you actually already know what I do. And I don't want to repeat that every time because there are a lot of people that look at every digital classroom. So I don't want to repeat myself too much. So one of the filters that I absolutely love is actually Imagenomic Portraiture. So I made an action, as you can see here, duplicate background, portraiture, select layer background, make new channel and mask. What it does is it actually runs Imagenomic Portraiture in the background. It creates a new layer and a layer mask. And as you can see here, it's a pretty non-subtle setting I use. The reason I do this is very, very simple. I want to make sure that the areas where I want the effect to be maximum, I can actually have the effect maximum. So now I'm actually going to first paint it in on maximum setting. And there we go. And what I now can do is actually change the color of my brush, press the X key, lower the opacity, and then take the effect out on the areas where you don't want maximum spread. This works way better than doing it in 2 or 3 stages, and now you have a pretty solid retouch. And it goes really fast. Is it better than Dots and Burn? No, it's not better than Dots and Burn, of course, but hey, it's way faster. Okay, I want to open up the eyes just a little bit. So go to the dodge tool and only go here. There we go. Awesome. Cool. I see a problem under here. So let's move there. Just take the lasso tool, be very careful. And just press the delete key. Again, this retouching part goes pretty fast, and that's because a lot of you guys already saw this. Now you see that I keep my selection in, right? The reason is very simple. As you can see here, the content aware fill didn't do it 100% right, but if I keep that selection in, I can actually just sample here and very simply just clone that in. And now I do deselect. Now the only thing I have to do is just lower the opacity of that brush, sample here, and just massage the problem away. Love that word. And there we go. Pretty good. Okay. Let me switch to picture-in-picture. I think that's more friendly, especially because it's a Christmas episode. Now I can see you guys.
There is a question.
Okay, there are several questions. So let me first do the questions here. Frank, for example, F11 and 8 seconds. Will that work? Yes, if you like photographing a Smurf. For the very simple reason your model will turn totally blue because no model can keep her breath for 8 seconds. Well, maybe some. Frank, I always thought that you were more an ambient... Frank, I always thought that when you want more ambient light, you lower the shutter speed. You were at 1/20th of a second. Yeah, normally you're on 125th. At the end, I ended up with 120 or 1/8. And that means that you don't have to lower it to an insane amount, like 8 seconds or 4 seconds or 3 seconds. You just balance it. And that's the cool thing about the digital Polaroid on the back, or shooting tethered in this case, because now I can actually see what I'm doing, and I can literally just raise and lower the shutter speed to make the Christmas tree appear more or less. Which settings are on Imagenomic? The settings on Imagenomic at the moment are nuclear, meaning everything on full blast and total softness. Because later on, and this is something that's changed over the last few months, I love Imagenomic portraiture on the more subtle settings like half a year ago. Now I do everything on nuclear for one very simple reason. I found myself going into Imagenomic portraiture several times to do the same effect, but a little bit more here, a little bit less there. In the end, I just thought, why not do it on nuclear settings? So I smooth everything out and then just take it out via the layer mask. Because, of course, you can paint with 50% or 20%. Works way faster. Carly, can we buy the action from you, Frank? You can buy a lot of actions from me, but not for Imagenomic portraiture for the very simple reason. Okay, let me explain that on the big camera. Let me switch over because this is important. Okay, drum roll, please. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, listen. You can buy a lot of presets online, and often people charge you 100 euros, 199 euros for presets. I think, in all honesty, and with all due respect to my colleagues, that's stealing money. For the very simple reason, you don't need that kind of presets for that kind of money, because every preset you can create yourself. Now, the presets that I sell, and you can actually buy them here. Let me give you that quick. The presets that I sell are actually in the $10 and €50 range. The reason I do this is they're a great starting point. I give you exactly what I use. So I don't give you, how do you call that? Not quite what I use presets. Let's just call it that. Handicapped presets. I give you the literal presets that I use. Now, the reason I do this is very simple. Everybody needs to adjust those presets to their own liking. And let's say the original presets give you this, my presets give you this, and you only need to add a little bit more to make it your own. Now, for 10 or 15 euros, that saves you a lot of time, and it saves you a lot of hassle, and you come close to, for example, if you like my shots, you come close to that shot, and then you only have to do it a little bit yourself. For 10, 15 euros, that's a no-brainer. For 200 euros, that's stealing. Now, why don't they do that for Imagenomic portraiture? For the very simple reason, there are only a few sliders. Just put it on nuclear. Everything full blast and the softness all the way up, and you have exactly the same setting that I use. Okay, so let's remove this again. That's the cool thing about doing stuff live.
There was a question on Facebook.
Oh, there's also a question on Facebook. Okay.
What's the best light meter on the market?
What's the best light meter on the market? Drum roll. Psychonic. Thank you. You didn't expect anything else, right? Psychonic, of course. Okay, would love to shoot a similar setup next Friday. Next Friday? Do we have a workshop next Friday?
Maybe.
No, that's coming Friday. We can do something like that, Raymond. No problem. See you on Friday. Looking a lot like Christmas over there. Yes, it is. Don't you miss us, Steffi? Okay, let's do the retouching further. Okay, I'm still on split screen, so that's cool. Okay, let me just take my face off. No, not take my face off, of course, but let me just go to desktop only. There you go. Bye. Okay, so the first thing, of course, we already did. The second thing is I love tinting my images. Now, before I used a plugin, let me go back to this again. I never know what I'm going to do. Sorry, guys. That's the cool thing about doing live stuff. Okay, in the past, what I really loved to do was DxO Film Pack and Alien Skin Exposure. Those still rock. They're awesome. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love those. But there's a new kid in town, and that new kid in town is rocking all the right things, man. Remember MacFun? They changed their name to Skylum. Don't even go there. They changed the name to Skylum, and they now release Windows versions of my favorite plugin. So first you have Aurora. Yeah, it's cool because I sometimes like HDR, but this one I've been waiting for a long time. Filter, Skylum, Luminar. Now what is Luminar? Luminar is totally different from anything you ever saw in your life. Remember the plugins where you go like, okay, I have this plugin, but I really need curves, but there are no curves. Or I have this plugin, but I really want a black and white converter, but there's no black and white converter. We're actually used to that. What we do is we actually change from plugin to plugin. So we go back into Photoshop, we go back into the plugin, we go back into Photoshop, we go back into a plugin. And at one point, I was just going like, that's the way it is. Just get used to it. Luminar changes everything. What Luminar does, it gives you a certain workspace. Let's call it a workspace. They actually call it a workspace. And in that workspace, you do filters. For example, you know what, I'm just going to show you. So let me first go to my own preset. So custom. And this one will be released in about 1 or 2 weeks. I'm still building some. So let's just find one that I like. For example, that 80s look, why not? There we go. We're also streaming the desktop, so it's slightly slower than normal. There we go, I really love this one. Let's go to Bond, because that has really nice colors. There we go, I love this. Now you see a before and after. And the cool thing is, look at this. So I have my develop module here. I have develop module. Dude, I really love Lightroom, but this is not the develop module. This is the develop filter, of course. We have brightness contrast, we have curves, so if you like the curves a little bit different, you can actually change that. There we go. Let's lower it. And this is the plugin, and they also have a standalone, of course. You have clarity, I don't like clarity here. You have a detail enhancer, which I really like. You have photo filter, so let's say I want a photo filter in, now it's bluish. Let's make that a little bit more red. You can actually change that around. So let's go to pure red and just lower it to 0 and then slowly build it up. There we go. And now I actually determined that I like blue a little bit more. There we go. Oh, really like this. There we go. Maybe a little bit less. Okay, cool. And of course you can determine each filter separately, as you can see here. Isn't that awesome? I just keep loving this. You can have a vignetting. In this case, I don't like it, but you can do white or, of course, black vignetting. Normally, I always go for blacker, but okay. You have a matte look. So I have a lot of these settings. And the cool thing, and now it comes. Let's say I want to add another filter. The only thing you have to do is add filters. And here you go. You can choose whatever you want and just add this to your workflow. Now, if you go like, what the heck is brightness contrast? Press the I from info and just hover over it, and it will literally show you what it does. Same as Photoshop now does. So this helps us to actually choose the filter that we want, because trying out everything just takes so much time, and we want to save time, right? Okay, now HSL, this is something really cool. Now every color determines by hue, saturation and luminance. with the ASL, you can actually determine for yourself how you want your image to look. So let's say I want a little bit more saturation in the reds. There you go. But if you like the saturations in the reds not that much, you can of course reset everything and go to luminance of the reds. Now the cool thing is, if you do the luminance of the reds, you will only raise the brightness of that color. And it's a totally different look than from saturation. But I actually prefer saturation. So let's just reset this and just do a little bit saturation. There we go. Okay, of course the same thing for green in this case, because it's Christmas. There we go. And is there aqua in there? In the greens? Yes. Remember that one color always exists of several subcolors. So in green there can also be a little bit of aqua. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Otherwise, don't laugh at me. I'm Dutch. Okay. Now let's see how we look. Oh, I really like this. Now, sorry guys, I have to drag this to my top monitor very quickly to check. And normally I don't do this for the very simple reason. Normally I'm of course already mirroring on that monitor. So I have to change it a little bit back. There we go. Okay. Now what I do is save this filter preset, and how do we call this? FD, let's call it Blue Mood. Why not? Okay. The reason I save this is because, of course, I have two of these images. So exporting image. This takes a little bit of time because you're actually, and this is the cool thing about Luminar, you are stacking up different plugins. So one of the plugins with all the structure and the detail and the dehaze is actually a little bit the substitute for Intensify. But the black and white conversion is actually the substitute for the black and white conversion for MacFun. And now I forgot what the name is. Tonality, that was the black and white conversion, which is absolutely awesome, by the way. So if you're still on Mac, make sure you check out MacFun. And if you are on PC, make sure you check out MacFun, which is now actually called Skylum. And we have a special page for you guys, and that's actually here. So go to frankdorff.com/MacFun, and you have an awesome holiday offer. Yay! So make sure you check that out, because these guys are absolutely awesome in plugins. Okay, and this is still no, it's not a pre-release, it's a first generation release, so it's gonna be way better. Okay, so we are done now with this one. Let me see if I like everything. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, looks cool. Okay, file close. Now, because I already did all the work, with the second one, the only thing I have to do is go into Photoshop, run my filter again, my portrait smooth. And now you see why it's important to think ahead and actually do stuff before you are retouching. You know what I mean, just store your workflow. Okay, so let's go to white. Okay, let's make sure that you're on the right setting. So first I'm going to do everything on nuclear, so that's full blast. There we go. And by the way, if you press your backslash, you can actually see where you drew. One of my students told me this. And that's the cool thing about teaching. You always learn something new, because the backslash was not something that I knew. Hey, you can't know everything, right? Photoshop is such a great package, but there's so many options. There we go. Now go back to black. Just lower the opacity and just take it out in the areas where you want a more natural look. There we go. And you see a before and after. Open up the eyes. Just with the Dutch tool. And only do the irises, don't do anything else. Fit on screen. There, oh, I saw something really annoying. See this? This is something that annoys the heck out of me. Go to Quick Mask. Take your brush. Make it small. Press the X key. It's very simple. You have two options, black and white. If black doesn't work, white will. And if white doesn't work, black will. So never try to remember which one does what. Just use them both. Okay, and then also take that one out. Are there any more that annoy me? There we go. Let me see if Photoshop can handle this one. Okay. Okay, there we go. Just okay, now you see the selection. Yeah, selection isn't really nice, so let's do that again. Let's do it on 100%. That seems to work way better. Sorry guys, my mistake. It's live. Okay, that's better. Do a selecting first, otherwise you will be waiting for a long time. And press delete, content aware fill, color adaptation normal, just leave everything the way it is. And there we go. As you can see, it does it pretty well. And over here, awesome. This one, well, maybe, let's see if I want to take that out. There we go. Do a select inverse and press delete. Okay, cool. Very nice. Okay, let me very quickly do something before I run into problems. Okay, there we go.
There are some questions on YouTube.
Okay, we have some questions on YouTube. First, let me do this. View fit on screen, filter. Let's go back to Skylum, Luminar. And again, we're just running Luminar. And because I already know what the previous one did, I'm very, very fast now, because the only thing I have to do is actually run that preset again. And that's why I can't stress that enough. Make sure that you always keep that preset running. In other words, if you change something for one look, make sure that you save it. So the next image you do, you can actually just press here and immediately press apply. You don't even have to wait for it. Okay, so let's see. There are some more questions here. How does alignment work in the clone stamp? Or this is beyond this episode. I don't know how you mean alignment in the clone stamp. What you normally do with the clone stamp is you actually, in preferences, I will show you in a second, one moment. What does Luminar, except for you can make your own filters, do different than, for example, Alien Skin Exposure X3? Luminar can totally create a filter. I still think that if you go for the pure film looks, it's easier to go for DxO Film Pack or Alien Skin Exposure, for the very simple reason those are aimed at creating film looks. Luminar is creating everything. So you can create a film look, you can create everything you want. There's no limits to what you can do. But if you want to create a film look, Luminar is awesome for that. But I still prefer Alien Skin for just fast, and I already have everything in there. Now, I think if you would spend, let's say, hours and hours on Luminar, you probably will not need any other plugin except for the skin. If they add skin retouching in Luminar, they have a one solution that nobody will need anything else anymore. On the other hand, it's also how do you like the looks. I really think Alien Skin Exposure X3 just hits the nail on the head for film looks, same as DxO Film Pack. Luminar is different, and sometimes different is nicer, sometimes different isn't nice. And I still switch between Alien Skin Exposure and Luminar, and of course throw in some Film Pack. So yeah, I use them all. That's the cool thing about using plugins. You are not forced to use one or more. Okay, file and close, so save. And there we go. So now we created both files. Okay, let me switch back for the questions. So let's go to my webcam. There we go. Okay. Question. Oh, yeah, and that was the one that I missed. The clone tool. I will do that in a second. What do you think of DxO buying the Nick collection? Yeah. I don't know. I honestly don't. I think DxO has some awesome stuff with Photolab, which is, you have to check that out. Photolab is just plain miracle, especially in Lightroom. If you guys want, I can do an episode or video about integrating Photolab into Lightroom, which is great for travel and street photography, and of course also for events and weddings. But I think, and that's my mind fart. So don't worry if it's not true. I think they actually bought it for something else. Now, do you remember that in the past when you had Vivenza, that there was something called U-points? We never saw that again in any other software solution, right? And U-points were, in my opinion, the best thing ever. But it never hit in any other software. So the way that Google bought Nick for Snapseed, I literally think that Nick was bought by DxO, maybe for U-points. Imagine U-points in a program like Photolabs. That would be absolutely heaven. That would be great. So I don't know. Maybe that's the reason they bought it. On the other hand, Nick is just great. It's a great software package, but it's way, way outdated. And if you can keep it running, it's great, but it's very complex software. So I think that if they keep it free, they must have bought it for something like U-points. I can't imagine if you buy something and you have to put all that research and development in there, there has to be something in there that's golden. And when you look at Photolabs, Photolabs is already a very, very complete package. I don't know what they would do with the Nick collection, except we have the Nick collection. I think U-points. Okay, let me go back to my desktop because you asked me something about the clone tool. Let me go here. Okay, cool. Oh, there we go. Okay. Photoshop. Let me do a new file. New A4, whatever. Create. Okay, there we go. Okay, the clone tool. So let's just mess around a little bit. This is going to be fun. Okay, so do a rectangular here. Just take my... There we go. Okay, select this, select. So normally what you do is with the clone tool, you select with the Alt key, and now you can actually see what you're doing. See? And of course now it's on opacity 21, so let's just turn that up. There we go. Okay, now you can see literally where I'm going. So if I select this, I can literally see what I'm doing. You can set it up in your edit. You go to preferences and go to brushes. Actually cursors, sorry. Now what you have to make sure is that set it up like this: full brush size, show crosshair, and here precise. Now there's also something else that a lot of people frustrated, like if they draw, that you actually see this magenta line following, and some people are going like, why the heck is that in there? I hate it. Just turn this off. Show brush leaves while smoothing. If you turn that off, it's gone. Okay, this is something, this is between you guys again, between me and you guys. Don't tell anybody else this because it will get you fired. You know that sometimes you want to freak out your fellow employee? Watch this. If you go into the clone tool, and you see here that there's a corner. Let me show you what it does. Let me put it on 9%. Now if I do this, you can see that there's a slight incline, right? It changes it. This is obvious. This is like, hey, something is wrong. If you want to really freak somebody out, do it like this, let's do 0.5. Oh, doesn't do that. Oh, a comma. It's because I've set it up. Okay, there we go. Now what I do is if I do this, it will look like it's totally straight. Unless you do it right on top. And now you can literally see that it doesn't align anymore. This will freak people out because they never know where to set it up. So do 0. Don't forget, I once forgot, so that's not nice. Oh, and by the way, another tip, it's very quick. Go to Edit, go to Preferences. Let me first show you how it's normally is. We all know the color picker, right? This, right? That's the color picker. Okay. If you go into Edit, and you go into Preferences, and you go to General, you can actually change the color picker from Adobe to Windows. Or in your case, Apple. Now do this, and you go like, what? What just happened? I don't like this. I don't know what's going on. Where's my color picker? And a lot of people don't know that it's actually in your preferences in general. Make sure you put it back and go to Adobe. And you can also freak people out by doing performance and just pull this all the way down. And this history states, this is a really mean one, make it to 2. So they think it works unless they go back more than 2. Are there any more fun stuff? Yeah, a lot, but I don't have time for that now. I'm in the middle of a digital classroom. Okay, so let's just close this one, file close. Okay, no. There we go. Okay, go back to capture one. Okay, so any more questions? Let me see. There are actually questions over here. When shooting in snow, do you recommend always using a tripod, and what settings do you recommend also a low aperture? When shooting in snow, there's one thing you have to realize. Your camera has a reflective meter. That means it will always and always try to make something 18% gray. That means that snow, in most of the cases, will underexpose. Like a cityscape will probably overexpose, unless it's New York. Which actually, believe it or not, if you leave it in the middle, it's like cameras are calibrated for a cityscape of New York, because I don't have to do anything with over or underexpose. Weird. But normally when we shoot AMOLED, for example, it will be way overexposed because we don't have a skyline. We have one light maybe, and that's when somebody forgot to turn it off. So anyway, if you have something dark and you shoot it on AV mode, it will actually overexpose because it tries to make 18% gray. If you have something like a snow landscape, it will actually underexpose. So make sure that if you shoot in the snow, that you keep that in mind. So always overexpose a little bit to make sure that that underexposure of your meter will turn into a correct image. Because if the meter underexposes, you have to overexpose for snow. And tripods, I love the Benro tripods, the carbon fiber one, but in all honesty, I only use it when I need long shutter speeds. So as soon as I can do it handheld, I'm a big handheld guy. I really, really don't like tripods for everything. But if you need a tripod, my advice, go for a carbon fiber one, because in the end you pay for it anyway, because let's be honest, open up your closet. How many tripods do you have? You have a lot. And they all don't work because one is a little bit too heavy, one is a little bit too unstable, etc., etc. So make sure that when you buy a tripod, you buy a right one. Okay, let me see. Any more questions? This is great. Props to the stylist. Yeah, Nadine is pretty cool. She really is. Okay, so let's do a very slight commercial break, and then we're going to set up for the next set. That's why we do the commercial breaks, because it's live. I need a drink, and of course, we need a little bit of time to set up. And by the way, do you know Kelby One? Kelby One is absolutely awesome, and you can find some videos of me over there. For example, these two. Hey guys, welcome in the Netherlands, Amsterdam. This is my home country, and my name is Frank Dorhoff. If you want to learn more about studio photography, the first thing you have to understand is how do you build your own studio. There are so many problems you will encounter during the building of your studio. The size is too small, the size is too big. What do I do with the walls? And the list goes on and on and on. In this class, I will give you a lot of tips about how to build your studio. But of course, I will also show you some cool tricks with lighting, because that's of course a very vital part of your studio. So check out my class on building your studio on Kelby One. Hey guys, welcome in the Netherlands, Amsterdam. This is my home country, and my name is Frank Dorhoff. Working with models, that's what I love to do. That's where my main passion is. Working with models gives you the option to create something amazing. I try to really dig in deeper. And to dig in deeper, you have to make sure that your model is at ease. How do you pose your model? How do you style your model? How do you make sure that your image really tells that story? If you want to know more about working with models, check out my class on coaching and working with models on kelby1.com. Now, if you don't know what to get for Christmas for your loved one, give him a Kelby One subscription, because then you actually can enjoy it both. And you can sell it to your girlfriend or loved one for, this is for your creative outbursts, and you just enjoy it yourself. Kelby One, without any doubt, highly, highly recommended. And not only because I'm on there, they're really cool guys. Okay, so let's see what we changed on the set. Now, you remember that Lesterlight backdrop, right? And in between, and it didn't take that much time, by the way. It only takes about 2 minutes. We changed it for the granite one. There we go. Personally, let me do it like this. Personally, I like this one even better than the other one. I just like that backdrop. So for the next setup, we have Nadine, and we're gonna do something with snow. Don't worry, we're not gonna do anything with snow that's dangerous. Although probably in about 2 years, we will still find the snowdrops somewhere in our studio, as usual when we do something with glitters and snow. It's horrible. Okay, let's change that back, and I'm gonna go to the set. Awesome. Okay. Why is the strobe behind it? Aan de zijkant. On the side. I need the strobe on the side, Anouk. Because we're gonna throw the snow, and the snow is gonna be lit from the side. So normally when you shoot something like, for example, smoke, or you shoot something that is in the air, you need backlighting on that stuff. Now, of course, you can put the strobe behind. That's what I actually explained probably wrong. But what I meant was, of course, that we need strobes from the side aiming towards Nadine. So that means that if we throw the snow, it will actually be caught by the strobe on the back. That means that we will get side lighting on Nadine, but also on the snow. And that will make the snow stand up. Now, remember that if you shoot snow itself, it's already a reflective material. So if we only light it from the front, that will probably be enough. But just to make sure, I like that backlight. Because with the backlight, we can also maybe add a little bit of a gel, like a red gel or maybe a blue gel. When I look at her outfit, I would actually prefer a blue gel to make it more like an ice queen. Maybe add some lens flares and some... It's going to be awesome. Okay, so let me get the strobe over there, Milan. And just lift it up. There we go. Let me help you. And just aim it up. There we go. Let's just place it over here. Aim it a little bit at our model. Make sure that it's set up correctly. There we go. It's very tight. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're gonna aim it at Nadine. Make sure that it's up and a little bit down. Now, as you can see, I'm not aiming it directly at Nadine. What I'm doing is I'm aiming it slightly in front of her. Is this on camera, Anouk? Is this the right angle? Okay, I'm aiming it slightly behind her. Now, this is a really thick grid. This is a little bit too thick. So, Milan, can you give me a smaller one than that? And the gel, I want to have blue in a moment. Do we still have blue gels, Anouk? Okay. But let's first set up the normal lighting. So the normal lighting is going to be this 1 meter octa with a grid. Gonna put it on the side because I want a little bit of a Rembrandt lighting here. Make sure that I also hit the backdrop. I want a nice light fall off. So I'm gonna lower this. There we go. Just aim it a little bit more up. Absolutely great. This is nice. Okay, now of course we have to meter the light first. So let's grab the light meter again. Let me see where that is. Oh, on my stool. There we go. Okay, let's first meter the main light. That's always a good place to start. And it's really close on the model. It's still on that low setting, and it's now actually f8. Now, I already told you, that one is great, so put it in. I already told you guys, I don't like to shoot on tripods all the time. So what I'm now gonna do actually is take the camera off the tripod, because this one, I wanna shoot handheld. There we go. Okay, f8. And let's just see first how the normal light is set up. This is what I advise you guys also to do. If you shoot stuff like this, make sure you first set it up with your one light source. Don't put everything on at the same time. Just build that light. So let's just see how it looks. Really nice. Now the lighting in her face, I will actually not use. Now that sounds a little bit disrespectful for the styling, But if we want to do motion, I can't use that lower shutter speed for the very simple reason. If I use a lower shutter speed, I literally can't do that anymore. And the guys need a little bit of help, guys, so I'm right back with you. I have to help out to find something. Anyway, can you go back behind the computer, please? Let me see if we have blue in here. Let's do purple. Just take the purple one out. That's that one. Okay. So we have already set up the first setup. And this looks pretty nice. The only thing I now want to do is add a little bit of light on the beautiful backdrop. So without moving my light too much, because I don't want that light to be gone from Nadine, I actually aim it a little bit more towards the backdrop. Anyway, can you also see Nadine in that camera point? No, right? So let me change the camera for you. Okay, so can you now see me and Nadine? Okay, cool. Great. Okay, so now I have a little bit more light on the backdrop, and I have beautiful light on Nadine, almost like a painterly quality. Very nice. Look a little bit more up towards the light. Awesome. Great. I really love this. It's almost like a Rembrandt lighting. Really nice. And Rembrandt lighting, that means that you actually have that nice triangle over there. Okay, let's turn the backlight on. So let's first start out by just using the backlight without any form of color. So I'm going to move this a little bit back. Aim it just slightly in front of my model. Now what I'm doing is I'm also feathering this light. So feathering means I'm not aiming it directly at my model, I'm feathering it away. So with other words, I'm just pointing it away from my model. That means that I will get a lot of light on my camera, but not that much light on the model, which creates a beautiful, beautiful rim light. Because the softer the light, the nicer, right? And the sides of the light are always a little bit softer. So look towards the light a little bit. Love this. Really nice. So now I have a beautiful rim light. And I'm almost ready to put the gels on. Awesome. And if you want a little bit lower, of course you can sit on a stool or just use your flip-up screen like I do now. Great. Oh, that's nice, Nadine. Beautiful. Okay, let's put the gel on. So we have a big gel, and it actually became purple. So let's put the purple on. I actually like this shot too, Nadine, don't you? Yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay. And of course, you always need duct tape. Every studio needs duct tape. And I need 4 hands. There we go. It's okay. I can manage. I have 4 hands. I'm a very flexible guy.
No feet and 4 hands.
No feet, but 4 hands. Yes. There we go. You get it. Okay. So we have a big one in front. Let me first see how this looks. So now we have a little bit of side lighting and in a different color. Okay, really nice, Nadine. There we go. Now you have to remember that everything you put in front of your lens will actually make your lens worse, right? If you have a really cheap UV filter in front of your lens, it will lower the quality of your lens. Sometimes they say if you put a $50 UV filter in front of your lens, you actually have a $50 lens. It's the same with strobes. If you put something in front of the strobes, it lowers the light output. So at first it looked like the light output was okay, but now I need to raise that light output. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scan for the new strobe. And that's the nice thing about the Allengram Skyport system. You can actually scan for your strobes and then remotely control it. So you don't have to put them in groups anymore. You can literally remote control your strobes. And I know the back one is an ELC. So let's turn that all the way up. Let's go all the way up to infinity. Or insane. Okay, there we go. Nice. There we go. So now what you see, that we now get that really nice glow in there, which I absolutely like. But of course, you want snow, right? Because that's what you guys are here for. So, Anouk, are you ready to throw some snow? Or is Milan going to throw some snow?
Or Nadine himself.
No, Nadine can't do that. So, Milan, are you ready for some snow? Let's just get a little bit of lens flare in. That's really nice. Love this. Now I will need to do some Photoshop because that side thing of the strobe is actually showing up, but that's very, very easy to do in Photoshop. Okay, Milan, on that side. And what I want you to do is, as soon as we're ready, we're just going to throw some snow up in the air and it will flow down, I hope, on Nadine. So, are you ready? From there. And just throw it up. And make sure that you're not in the frame. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, much higher. Don't worry, you have to clean it up yourself, so be my guest. That's a little bit too much in front of her. Do it again. 1, 2, go. And another one. 1, 2, go. That's a little bit too less on the front. So make sure you fill that nice up and don't throw it in front of her face too much. Yeah, you have to steer this. 1, 2, go. Too much in front of her face. 1, 2, go. That's nice. And again, 1, 2, go. And a little bit more on the side. So try to throw it like in the back. So the whole back has to be filled. Just throw it towards the ceiling and it will just flow down. Okay, 1, 2, go. Okay, 1, 2, go. Okay, can you give me some? I want to try if I can do it slightly differently. Okay, okay. Let me see. 1, 2, oh, what am I doing? That way.
Okay.
So, can I have a little bit more? Thank you. So you just throw it up and it will go down. And there you go. Okay, try it. Go. Okay, but not in front of her face. Try it again. Go. Not in front of her face. So keep it in the back. Do we have more snow, Anouk? Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
1, 2, go. Yeah, in the back. Okay, a little bit more. Okay.
I'm out.
You're out? Okay, I'm not. Okay, let me try one. Are you ready, Nadine? Mm-hmm. 1, 2, go. There we go. That's what I mean. That's really nice. Okay, are you ready, girl? Okay. It's a little bit difficult to get exactly what I want. Okay, Milan, try to throw it from here, from in the front.
Okay.
So just pick it up from the floor. That's what you do with snow. And the most important thing is don't throw it in front of her face, but still fit it in. Okay, go. Okay, that's better. Okay, try that again a few times. Okay, let me get some little bit more lens flare in. 1, 2, go. That's nice. Okay, a few more. 1, 2, go. And a few more. Let me do it a slightly different approach. Let's go to drive mode, fast. Okay, are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, one strobe doesn't keep up. Okay, final shots. I think we already got one. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3, go. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's see what we can do in Photoshop with these images. And they're still coming in. And for this one, we're actually also going to shoot, of course, the color checker. Because this one doesn't have any mixed lighting. So this one, I want to have accurate colors, at least on the model. So can somebody give me the color checker, please? It's over there. Awesome. Thank you. And then, of course, if you want to make sure that your lighting is correct, you, of course, turn off your colored lights. There we go. And make sure you shoot the color checker as flat as possible. There we go. Thank you so very much, Nadine. And let's go into Photoshop. Now, if you think, like, I really like that software that Frank is using to shoot tethered, that's actually Capture One. And Capture One is without a doubt my favorite software for shooting tethered. Now, of course, you can shoot tethered in Lightroom or, for example, in DPP or in other remote control software. But Capture One just hits all the right stuff. And with all the right stuff, I mean that it actually does everything right. And if you shoot something tethered, you don't want to worry about, well, maybe it will work, maybe not. You want a rock solid connection. And that's actually what Capture One does. And I made a video about it. And that video is only 15 euros and it's almost 3 hours. Let's look at the trailer. Great shot. Hey guys, I'm Frank Dorov. I'm the writer of the best-selling book, Mastering the Model Shoot. Now, during my workshops, I get a lot of questions about people. What about raw developing? How to set my camera? Do I need Adobe RGB? Do I need sRGB? There are many questions out there. And the best thing to start with is use Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop. That's where you start. But after that, if you want a little bit more quality, if you shoot a lot of tethered setups, Capture One is actually one of the best programs out there. It isn't the best in library modes. It isn't the best in map modes. That's where we still use Lightroom. But Capture One is an awesome RAW developer. Now, what is a RAW developer and why is it important? Think about the old days when we had film. The choice of chemicals and the choice of film made a huge difference. The same film developed in different chemicals gave you totally different end result. The model was still the model, the landscape was still the same landscape, but you get more definition from one chemical. Or you get a little bit more detail or a little bit different colors. Also depending on the process. And that actually is the same thing for the new digital sensors. A digital sensor records a raw image. There's no color space attached to a raw image. It's the raw image. You have to attach a color space yourself. This is also one of the most heard problems during, for example, social media stuff. How do I set my camera? If you shoot JPEG, choose sRGB or Adobe RGB. If you shoot RAW, it doesn't matter because the RAW file is the RAW file. There's no color profile attached. That's what you do in your RAW converter as soon as you go to JPEG or TIFF. And most workflows, of course, will be TIFF 16 bits because then you have a lot of stuff to work with. And then you can use the bigger color spaces. But hey, I'm getting way ahead of that stuff. I don't want to teach you too much because this is a promo for a new video I created. Now, next to Lightroom, one of the most famous and best known RAW developers is, of course, Capture One. And Capture One has had a turbulent experience for me. It started when I shot medium format, I needed Capture One. And now when I shoot Sony and even when I shot Canon, I quickly found out that the raw developing of Capture One was awesome. But a lot of people have a lot of questions about how does it work? With Lightroom, I know how everything works, but how does it work in Capture One? And that's why we created this video for you guys. It's a total walkthrough about how I set up Capture One to work with Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop, because those are still my main programs. Capture One is used for raw developing, and it does such an amazing job at that. So, check out the video on Capture One raw developing workflow from me, Frank Dorov. And I'm sure if you have any questions about Capture One, they will be answered in that video. Only 15 euros. Ah, isn't that awesome for under the Christmas tree? Well, it's a digital download, so yeah. Anyway, okay, so now there's one thing you have to know about Capture One. If you use a color checker in Capture One, that's not a perfect workflow for the very simple reason it doesn't really support the software like Lightroom does. In Lightroom, it works pretty well. On the other hand, Capture One uses built-in profiles that are absolutely very, very good. So do you need a color checker? Shoot it. For the very simple reason you never know when you need it, and then you can always go back into Lightroom and use that color checker. Okay, let me remove this from the bottom part. So this is, by the way, the address where you can get all your videos. So make sure you go there and support our work. We really keep those prices low for you guys. Okay, so let's go to my computer. Okay, the first thing, of course we did some stuff before. So let me go through here. And let me first take out the ones that I really don't like this one. It's a little bit too depressed for me. And here we have a few where the strobes didn't fire, because I tried to shoot it on a too high frame rate. And the ELCs can cope, but the BRX didn't. Okay, so now what I do in Capture One is pretty simple. Go to the picker tool over here and just make the color balance right. And just go through all the images I shot with that setup, select, and then just adjustments, copy and apply. So now they have all the correct color. Okay, go through your images, and I really like this one. Oh, I really like this one too. Don't worry, I'm not gonna retouch all. You see that sometimes I wait a little bit for a shot to see if I really like it. Too much in front. Throwing snow is a very, very difficult job because it has to be exactly right, especially with somebody like me. I'm a real nitpicker. And I think I have the right to be. This is cool. Really love it. That's what I liked. Okay, focused on the snow too much. Too much snow. Too little snow. And this is hit and miss, guys. If I had more time, and this is a live broadcast, so we didn't take that time. But if I have more time, this can take like maybe half an hour to get right, because it is very tricky, because you can't say, okay, I want that snowflake over there, I want that snowflake over there. You just can't do that. So you have to make sure that you do it right. So take your time for that. Don't rush it. Okay, if I have to choose between these two, I like them both. But let's retouch this one, because I want to show you what we do with the snow. Okay, I'm pretty lucky that there's nothing in front of her face, actually. So yeah, I love this one. And in this one, we're going to use alien skin exposure. So we're going to use a really nice effect. And I'm just going to show you. So let's go into Photoshop with this one. And let's just turn my face off. Oh, let me first do some questions, by the way. Okay. Let me see. If you would put the backlight gelled behind the Light screen like it was before, would that still work? Yes, but it would literally draw the attention too much to the background for me. In this case, I want a really dark background. If I put it behind, it works because it's backlighting the snow, but it's not the look that I wanted. But yes, it will work. Yesterday I bought a grid for my Octa, finally. If you use the grid, do you also use a front diffuser or the small diffuser inside? The small diffuser inside is the one that I always have in with the 1 meter Octa. The front diffuser I never use. Sometimes it can be wise to experiment with the middle diffuser off, so a totally open deep Octa, and just put the deflector in from Elingrom, and then use the silver one or the translucent one, and just see what you like. It's totally different. If I use the center diffuser only, I always tell people I have this nice soft center, and then on the sides, it gets a little bit more harsh because that's silver. So just experiment with it. That's the best thing. I have a question about ratios. Sorry, I know you don't believe in them, But with this lighting, where do you actually meter the backlight and which ratio would you recommend? Let me put one thing straight. It's not that I hate ratios or I don't like ratios. It's just that I feel as a photographer, you shouldn't be controlled by ratios. A lot of people go like, this has to be a ratio on 1:2. And that means that they will always stick to that 1:2. The reason I don't use ratios is because sometimes if a model wears something white, the ratio can be totally off. And when she wears something black, it can be perfect. And that's when ratios, let me put it this way. You have to know the ratios and then forget them. Know the rules, break the rules. Next time, use artificial snow. Works great. This was artificial snow. Oh, you mean in Photoshop? Nah, I don't want to use it in Photoshop. Okay, let's go back to my desktop, picture in picture. Sorry, my full desktop. We're now in Photoshop. Okay. So first things first, the skin. So let's go here. Really nice. And of course it's way too much. So zoom in. Ooh, really like this. Go to a white brush. Make it a little bit thicker. And this one can be really smooth because it has to be a little bit of a surreal image. So probably I leave it on the nuclear setting. And they're really nice. Nadine has a great skin to retouch because there are no color blotches. So that's really nice. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Sorry, guys. Hey, it's live and I'm Dutch. There we go. Okay. Open up the eyes just a little bit with the dodge tool. As you can see, of course, layer, flatten image. Of course, as you can see, it's mostly repetitive stuff. So that's why I go through this a little bit faster. Okay, so now I don't like this area over here. It's a little bit too empty for me. So this is where I love alien skin exposure. So let's go to exposure X3. And let's drag that to the bottom monitor. There we go. Okay, now first let me look at... And by the way, these presets you can also buy online because I have preset specs for alien skin exposure, DxO film pack and topaz and whatnot. We have a lot of those presets. And they're really not that expensive. And of course you support our work. Okay, let's go into... I actually think that something like this might even be nice. Look at this. Gives it a little bit more of a snow queen effect. Really cool. So drop the highlights a little bit more. There we go. Now what I want is I want a light source coming from this side. Now I didn't shoot it with a light source, but I knew that in Photoshop I would be adding that light source. And this is something that you really have to do when you shoot stuff like this. Think ahead of what you're gonna do. And of course I know the software, so I know which one I'm gonna use. Probably blue, and just turn it from that side. There we go. Now, of course, you can zoom this and change the opacity or just make it really bright. Okay, don't like it that much. So let me see if there are alternatives. Also with blue, of course. Ooh, let me see how this looks. It's okay, but not too cool. Let's see with this one. No, too fake. I'm real picky with this kind of stuff, by the way, guys, so don't worry. Okay, maybe this one. No, that's not the effect I want. No, it's too reddish. There we go. This is nice. And then zoom it all the way out, that you get that really nice impact. Maybe lower the opacity just a little bit. There we go. Press apply. Now what you will immediately see is that the picture will look totally different from what it was originally. And I'm more like the why fake it when you can create it guy, but sometimes you just have to fake it because you can create it in Photoshop. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so before and after. Okay, do a layer, flatten image. And now what I want to do is I want to actually add a little bit more attention over there. So do a new layer. There we go. and add a little bit of a white, just like it was like there was a strobe over there. There we go. So this looks way more natural for me. Like this is a little bit like, Photoshop. And that little bit of extra white over here just changes the whole look for me. Okay, now I hear you guys going like, hey Frank, can you also make that bluish? Yes, you can, and it's pretty easy. Just go to a new layer. You always see me flattening my layers, and that's because I have a certain way of working, and I know that when I need to go back, I can always go back, and I don't spend a lot of time in Photoshop. Ooh, what's that kind of color picker? Don't laugh. Edit, preferences, general, Adobe. There we go. At least I know where it is. Okay, now let's say that I don't like that color. Let's pick a color over here. There we go. Now I have the right color. I have a big brush, and I will just paint this area a little bit more with that color. Now this doesn't look right, of course. So go to your blending modes and actually go, for example, to a color. That's better. Change this. And now it looks a little bit harsh over here. So let's just blur that layer. So go to blur, Gaussian blur, and just lower that down. There you go, do before, after, maybe add a little bit more. And there we go. And it takes that reddish tint off. Okay, now the top. Do I like the top? No. I would like to have it a little bit more cropped. So I just do it like that. There we go. Also makes it a little bit more filmic because it's more wide angle. More wide. I actually like this pretty much. Now let's see if I can just enhance the structure a little bit. And there's a cool filter for that out. It's called Topaz. And by the way, we have a discount code on our website for most of the presets that I use. And you can find it at frankdoorhof.com and then go to the discount page. And one of the things that I love is Topaz Clarity. And you see I have a lot of Topaz filters, and that's because they are just incredibly good for a very, very low price. For example, if you don't want to spend the money on image dynamic portraiture, get Topaz Clean. That's approximately the same, only it can't do it in batch. Look at this, that's a huge difference. Let's do pop 2. And maybe pop 1. No, that's too subtle, I think. Now if you go from something really extreme, make sure you toggle the before and after, because this one actually isn't that bad. Go to pop 2. No. I think pop 1 is really nice, but just add a little bit more protection in the highlights. So go in the high contrast. Oh, go the other way around, sorry. There we go. And then maybe boost the medium contrast. There we go. If you like that milky quality, let me see which I prefer. I actually like that milky quality. So let's see what low contrast does in this image. Like it. Okay, so original. Nice. Okay, and of course again, and that's what I always do, just save that preset. And these I don't sell because you can see I only have 4 now. FD pop. Yeah, it's between 1 and 2. How do we call that? We call that 3. There we go. Okay, really nice. Press OK. Now I did it on a separate layer for the very simple reason I don't know yet if I like it in Nadine's face, because, well, I don't want to overdo the face. So let's just try to lower that a little bit in the face if it's needed. It's actually pretty good. Yep, don't need to lower it in the face. Oh, maybe a little bit. So do a layer, layer mask, reveal all, show everything. Take a brush with black paint and just only take it out in the areas where you don't want it. That's the cool thing about Photoshop. Layers. I just love layers. I'm a very layered personality, one could say. There we go. I have to behave because normally when I retouch I'm like Bob Ross. I always tell people about what I'm doing. That sounds weird if I do a live stream. Okay. Now, because it's Photoshop, I can go to the bottom layer, go to curves, and I'll actually raise the brightness of the bottom layer a little bit to mimic the same effect I had before with the filter on. There we go. Go back here and just even out the areas where you miss some detail. Awesome. I really like this. I think this can be our Christmas card. Let's add some text in there and we're done. Fit on screen. Really love this. Wow. Nice. And there's no red in there. That's worse. Okay, now the zipper I'm gonna leave in, but you can take it out. But for me that doesn't make any sense because, well, it is a zipper and it is a code CSL. Now if you say, okay, I want to take it out, is that hard? No, it's not really hard. Go to make a duplicate layer just to be sure. Go into your quick mask, take a brush, and just go over the zipper, and it will be zippity zip away. There we go. Now, of course, you have to do a lot of retouching after this. This is why I always say, well, I like the zipper, because I don't feel like retouching a lot at the moment. Edit, undo, by the way. If you do it on a separate layer, you have to do it like this, fill. And then do color adaptation, normal, and content aware fill. There we go. And the rest you have to do manually. So let's say you want to do that, no problem. You just take your clone tool and just change this a little bit to that side. Fill this up a little bit here. Go a little bit there. This is where the Bob Ross character comes out. And just do it like that. By the way, if you don't know Bob Ross, make sure you check him out. He's absolutely hilarious and awesome. We need more people like that. Okay. But again, I don't really like the zipper. I don't really mind the zipper, so I'm just going to leave it in. Okay. But you can take it out. Just take a little bit more time than I did. Okay, really nice. File close and save and yes. Okay. Now, for the other ones, let me do one of those. Let me do this one. I'm going to show you very quickly. I did underexpose it a little bit. Don't know what happened. There we go. Okay, I want to show you how you can easily put in cat slides if you miss them. So I'll do the portrait smooth again. There we go. Go into your brush, white. You can do it very rough, like you see here. Just do it all over the model. Boom, 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 boom. Zoom in. Go to black. And just take out the areas where you don't want it. It's so easy. Don't you just love Adobe Photoshop? This message was brought by you, not by Adobe, because I really like them. Okay, flatten image. Now, those cat slides, they are a little bit on the lower side. So just take your brush and your Dutch tool and just make them a little bit brighter. Now here I actually miss it. So what I do is I will actually just take the clone tool and just clone them in just a little bit like that. There we go. Now maybe that's a little bit too much. So just clone it from here. And just, there we go. That's better. Now it looks like we really have two cat slides. Well, great. Now the only thing I have to do is tint this image. And for that, we're going to go again to Luminar. Because in Luminar, we have some really cool presets for this kind of stuff. Now, of course, you can do it black and white, but I think that defies the purpose a little bit of this shot. Because I really like the shot in color. Although one could say there's a little bit of color in there. So go to custom. Let me see. I have an old friend here. It's actually called old friend. There we go. Hello, old friend. And it might be a really cool. There we go. I really like that glow. Now, if you say like, okay, and I understand that it's a little bit too bluish for me. That's the cool thing about this. If you buy these presets in a few weeks, there are photo filters in here. And you can literally just customize the look by using the photo filter. As you can see here. add a little bit more or less. There we go. And I think that's the cool thing about Luminar. It's not hard to change everything to your heart's content. Just how you want it, that's how you can do it. So see a before and after. It's just very subtle. Just add it a little bit more. There we go. Nice. Like that bluish, subdued tone. So let's do a little bit of curves. Doesn't want to do what I want to do. That sometimes happens. Hey, what can you do? That's weird. Okay, forget about the curves. Let's do it like this. If it doesn't want to go one way, let's do it the other way. There we go. Let's call this one Ice Queen. Don't you agree? This is really nice, almost like a Game of Thrones queen. Okay, you can do small details. I can show you very quickly what it does. It's a little bit like Intensify, but in this image I just like it soft. Let's go back. Okay, now photo filter we already did. There's another thing that I really want to show you, and that's cross-processing. It's now in Geneva 44, and this is actually where you create your film looks in Luminar. So let's say I want Chicago. I don't know why they choose those names, because I don't have any connection with the colors they chose and the names. But that's how it works. So I think Geneva was actually pretty cool. There we go. Okay, now of course this one, save filter. Yes. FD. And let's call this Ice Queen. Okay. And just press apply. Okay. I think I made somebody really laugh by my layered personality remark. Sorry, guys. Okay. You see that this is a more elaborate filter because it takes a little bit more. Ooh, I really like this. This is really cool. Okay, fit on screen, layer, flatten image. Oh, already is. And file close. And the final shot, of course. And that's the cool thing about knowing your workflow is actually that you now very simply just change the same things that I did before. Just go. And I'm done in literally in seconds. So do that portrait smooth. It's already on there. Okay, do continue. Take your brush. And overdo it. Again, overdo it. Go in, change the color back to black, and take everything out that you don't want affected by this effect. There we go. Very, very simple, very, very fast. That's the way that you want your retouching to be done, because you don't want to spend the whole day behind your computer. Unless, of course, you like that. Okay, go to Luminar, and because we saved it as Ice Queen, we now actually know. Now this part, by the way, on the bottom I don't like, so I'm going to crop that out in a moment. Because I want to make it a little bit more wider. I always think that wide shots, that's I think why I shoot a lot of landscape shot instead of portraits. I think that wider shots give it a little bit more of a film, and then I mean a Hollywood look. So film that you normally look in the watch in the movie. In the movies, in the theater, you know what I mean. There we go. Really like this. I like that it also gives it a subdued look, so it isn't that bright and contrasty. It's very, very subdued, like you're looking through a filter. Love it. Okay. In between, let me see if there are any questions. Happy Clouds. I don't know why it's Happy Clouds. Any questions on Facebook, Annemiek?
No.
No? Okay. The Facebook crowd doesn't have any questions. Normally Facebook is more active than YouTube, so. But hey, what can you say? Okay, let's just crop it out until, let's say, here. And let's content aware fill the rest. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my lasso tool. I'm going to go up here and here. And just do this and then press delete. And just hope that Photoshop knows what I want. And it's magic. Sometimes I'm really surprised by how good Photoshop actually does this kind of stuff. Of course, it's a little bit rough around the edges, but hey, that's okay. You just go in with your clone tool and you just close that stuff up. And imagine doing this by hand. It's so much more work. Photoshop really, really helps you with this. Just build the layers. There we go. And just make sure you don't have any repeating patterns, because that's a dead giveaway that you retouch this kind of stuff. You almost can't get away with it, but hey, if people don't know it, they will probably not notice. Okay, I'm getting a lot of repeating patterns, and that means that I'm gonna do another technique for you guys very quickly after this. I'm first gonna fill it up, but I'm now not gonna watch repeating patterns anymore. Okay, there we go. And I'm doing this a little bit rushed, of course, because with Digital Classroom, it's not about high-end retouching. It's about the lighting setups, the learning experience. And when I do high-end retouching, I would probably now stop and do it again. But let me show you a very quick and down and dirty technique that will actually help also. The gorilla technique of retouching, let's call it that. Okay. Now let's say you mess something up like this and you go like, ooh, this is really bad. There are two ways. The first thing I always do is I will take my healing brush and I will actually sample some detail. As you can see, it creates a really weird look. Now, let's say I don't want that. Let me do it a little bit more here. Okay, that's also not really good. So that doesn't work, right? In this case. Sometimes it will, but I think this is just a too complex material stuff. So what you can now do is actually create a new layer, and do that with new layer. Oh, layer new. And again, normally with high-end retouching, please start over. But in this case, let's do it like, I don't know. New layer. Go to soft light. Go to fill with neutral gray. And now what you will do is take a brush with black paint and actually just make this all really, really dark. There we go. Now what you can do is actually stack this. And now it's really dark. And now just let it go a little bit. There we go. Layer, merge down. And because this is a layer, you can actually add a little bit of noise over here to fill that up. So do a little bit of noise. There we go. And of course now it's on everything, so just do this layer, layer mask, hide all, and just paint the effect in where you want it. There you go. It's not a perfect solution. It's actually a pretty rough solution. But hey, it's better than just have something go like, I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I'm not very satisfied with this, to be honest. Okay, let's say I'm not satisfied with this, then we do it like this. Okay, go into curves. Probably cropping would have been better, but hey. Okay, do it like this. So now I have this curved layer, do a layer mask, hide all. Take your brush and just very quietly just do this. And then just change the opacity. I'm more happy with this. This is acceptable. It's not perfect, but hey. Okay, cool. File, close. And save, yes. Okay guys, are you ready for some photo critiques? Because, well, that's what you guys actually asked me. So let's do some photo critiques. Let's go to webcam, picture in picture, so you can see my look when I look at your images. So let's just open up a few. Let's go this one. Let me just change my navigator here. And open this one. Oops. Open with Photoshop. let's go to Dropbox and just open a few. Let me take that one and that one and that one. Okay, ready. Okay, first image. I don't know from who they are. Oh, Portraits of Life, Michael Verrenberg. Hi, Michael. Okay, really like the shot. The only thing is the expression. I think when you have a model that has a little bit bigger mouth, try to open up the mouth just a little bit. Show some teeth, because that way you don't have the attention that draws straight into her mouth. So open up the teeth just a little bit. Now, for me personally, let me see for the viewing angle. Let me open up my navigator again, because I don't want to give you the wrong advice. Windows navigator. And there we go. Okay. Yeah. She has beautiful blue eyes. I think I would like to see that opened up just a little bit. So take your... There we go. Wow. Really nice eyes. Okay. Now, I would open up the shadows just a little bit. So go into your raw converter, and in this case I can't do that. So I go over here and I go into my shadows and highlights, and I will just open up the shadows a little bit. Pull down the highlights, not too much, just a little bit. And then go into curves. Now the colors will come out a little bit funky, because again, this should be done in your raw converter. Let me see, saturation. There we go. Personally, I like this just a little bit more. So in all honesty, it's only just open the mouth a little bit and you have a great shot. So really like this shot. Okay, this one. What can I say? This is awesome. I just love black and whites, and this one, I love how you place him straight dead on to the right. So just go with the rules. No rules. It's photography. We should do what we like. And in this case, it really works. Now, the thing that I'm not a big fan of, don't try to emulate film if you're not shooting film. Now, some people will go like, oh, I really like that border. I don't. So take it off. You don't need it. Just shoot it like that. Really nice shot. Love his expression. Maybe chin up just a little bit. So this will also fill up a little bit more on the back. But overall, well done. Love it. Okay, this one. Same thing. Take away those black borders.
The time is 5:00.
That's my computer telling me what time it is. Okay, there we go. Love the shot. I think it's a high fashion-y shot. It reminds me a little bit of the old days. The legs, what's out? That's something I don't want to see. So make sure that if you have a model that has a little bit of a uneven skin there, at least do her the favor of just taking that out. Don't leave it in. It's not nice for your model. Okay, and just make it nicer than I do now. Okay, so let me see. This is a little bit annoying, the black trousers coming out of her shoulder, but it's okay, you can't really help it, but it's something that takes away my attention. Maybe if you would go in, let me see how good Photoshop does this. Probably mess it up, but hey. There we go. Yeah, it's okay. Select and deselect. Looks better. But then go in really nice in full color, in full resolution, and just paint this really nicely. There we go. I'm not working on the full resolution file, but this looks better for me because I don't have that attention grabber. Now overall, I would just open it up just a little bit. So just go into your curves and just open up from the shadow side. There we go. So before and after. I think it's perfectly okay to have some blown out parts in the back, but the model really stands out this way. If you are in the raw converter, make sure that you open up this. So go into your raw converter or make a smart object and go back into the raw converter and just open it up. And with the JPEG it doesn't work, but of course you can also do this camera raw filter. But now I already lost that detail, so I will never get it back. But just to show you what I mean, just open this up in your raw file and just paint this in. So you have a little bit more detail on a dress. Because this is now totally black, and totally black is okay, but you know, I just like to see a little bit more. Okay, just cancel. And save. No. This one, awesome. The only thing is, and that happens to me sometimes, you cut off his feet. Don't do that. People have feet. And if you do something like this, keep those feet in. Now, if you cut them off, do it extreme. So if this was my shot, I would have been annoyed as heck because I love the shot. But I would probably do it like this. Oh, probably you want the Buddha in, by the way. So just do it like this. And then just, you know, I missed it, but hey, whatever. And, you know, it's better than just cutting his feet off. And maybe make it even a little bit more extreme on this side. And personally, I would do this. Makes it more engaging, more like a film look. So that's my photo critique. Let's go back to the full camera and let's see if we have some questions left. Anyway, do we have some questions left? Not on Facebook? Okay. Frank, please shoot my... Oh, Frank, Bob Ross is always painting happy clouds. Sends my remark. Okay. And Johan asked me, can you do my picture? Okay, I wanted to do that for the photo community. But let me do it now. Let me see which one is yours. I don't know which one is yours. Let me see. These I now did. Johan, I don't know which is your image. So I'm going to do one more and I hope it's your image. But don't hit me if it isn't. And then all the images I get in, by the way, all the images I get in get retouched or in the photo community. So join our photo community at frankdorff.com/community. Or they are being retouched later on in a digital classroom episode. And trust me, when we have fiber, there will be more digital classrooms. But we still don't have fiber. It's so frustrating. It's in the house. It's there. 7, 8 weeks ago, they told us only a few more weeks, 2 more weeks. And it was like 2? This is 8 already. And they promised us now before Christmas. They promised us that this digital classroom would be on fiber. It's not. So it's frustrating as heck, but trust me, when we have fiber, we don't have to worry about our data anymore. So at that point, we will do more of these quick Q&As and retouch sessions just in between the months, because I love doing live streams. Okay, I'm going to do one more and don't know if that's the Johan one, but we'll see. I'm just going to pick this one. Let me go into fit on screen. Ooh, it's a really low resolution. Zoom out. Okay, let me do picture in picture. Okay, guys, this is a really low resolution shot, so don't think this is Johan's, because he normally sends me bigger ones. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Control plus. Okay, love the shot. The only thing is the Walking Dead eyes. Don't do the Walking Dead eyes. Make sure that the eyes are centered. And this is the thing that I see so many times. This is an almost perfect shot. I really like the painterly quality. Look at the lighting on her purse. It's just freaking awesome. And then her eyes are all the way to the left. Don't, guys, please, coach your model. Look straight ahead. Because if she looks straight ahead, those eyes are in the center. And that looks so much better than this. So, but overall, I just love this shot. I can't help it. And especially about this, that little light on that purse. And I would even, dare I say, go into my dodge tool and just enhance that a little bit. And enhance the dress like this. And like this. It really gives you a nice popping quality of that material. There we go. Wow. Now look at this. If I take the history brush and I take it out, see the difference? Edit, undo. There we go. Really, really huge difference. Love this shot, by the way. Really nice shot. But don't send me these low images quality. Please send me higher quality images.
Next time we have fiber.
And next time we have fiber, so you don't have to worry about my data. Okay. some other things. Let me see if there are any more questions. And Johan, again, don't worry, we will get your shot. Don't worry. Let me see. No more questions on Facebook. Then we have something else, and this is so freaking awesome for you guys. Professional imaging, March 24, 25, 26. This is the show to go to in the Netherlands. There's no other show. Literally, there's no other show in the world to go to. Well, Photoshop World. But next to Photoshop World, let me rephrase. Next to Photoshop World and Christmas, in that order, by the way. I like Photoshop World more than Christmas. This is the show to go to. We have many, many great speakers. We have many exhibitants. And it's in a great location. We have our own booth, so you can come over. I'm constantly on the trade show floor. Actually, I'm responsible for the live show theater. I can't tell you which speakers are on there yet, but let me put it this way. Let me get really close to you guys. Get your tickets as soon as possible, because if the main speaker, it's a woman, gets announced, there might be a slight, huge chance that it's being sold out immediately, because this year, oh man, it's absolutely awesome. And at this point, we have an early bird registration for professional imaging. Just go to the website, professionalimaging.nl, or look at my social media stream for professionalimaging.nl and get your tickets. You won't regret it. And this year, and that's something I can already tell you, Nadine and me are doing a live show together. So previous years, I was alone on stage, of course, with Nadine as model. This time, Nadine is going to take over some of the teaching and tell you guys everything about styling and creativity. It's something I'm looking forward so incredibly much. It's going to be absolutely great. And the other thing is, on the bottom, for all you Americans, we love you guys. New York, June 10th. Yes, we're going to come to New York again. We're going to be in the studio of Neil from Nieuwkerk. And of course, we're going to give a workshop over there. It's a full day workshop. We now have an early bird for $350. And it's going to be a small group. So I never teach big groups. It's going to be a small group, limited to 12 people. That's it. No more. And we bring Nadine with us. Now, last time I said, well, probably it's only going to happen once, but she blew off the roof at Photoshop World. People loved her in the workshop, so we're going to bring her again. Why not? So that's on June 10th. Make sure you check that out on frankdoorhof.com. And that's actually here, because at that point, we are actually also selling the tickets now and having the discount pages and all the videos. So make sure you check out my website for that. And finally, if you are into tethering, you know that all the new computers, sorry, and a week almost got a heart attack, have USB-C, right? But all the, I didn't throw it, by the way. I didn't, look, it's still in one piece. You see, it's still in one piece. Although I like Windows a little bit more, but it's still in one piece. Okay, so all the new cameras actually have USB-C, or all the new cameras that will come out. Now, there are no USB-C tether cables yet. Hence, Tether Tools. Of course, Tether Tools has released a USB-C cables. We will have them in stock in January. If you want USB-C, just drop Anneweek an email at anneweek@frankdoorhof.com and she will make sure to hook you up for the USB-C Tether Tools cables. I'm going to be using them. I already use them. It's absolutely stunning, and in January, everybody can use them. So that's cool. And the other thing, some people ask me like, hey Frank, can you show the Dutch book? Yes, I can. Ta-da! That's the Dutch book. So we now have a book in English, Chinese, traditional Chinese, Czech, and this is the Dutch version. And Van Dure Media did a really, really good job, because I actually read it all again, and it's like I'm talking to myself. And that's, by the way, something that never happens to me normally. But that's the cool thing about the book. When I wrote the book, Scott Kelby actually taught me, like, the best thing you can do is make sure that you talk to yourself. Like, not talk to yourself, talk to somebody. So take somebody in mind and just write a book for that person. And a lot of books that you buy are more like a generalization of the public. So in other words, it's aimed at a wider area of people. What I did with the book was actually aim it at one certain person I kept in my mind, and I wrote the book for her or him. And in the Dutch translation and the Chinese translation, I can't check. Sorry, can't check. You see the pun intended, because we also have a Czech version. So in those two translations, I can't check if that's really true, but the Dutch translation is perfectly straight on the money. It has all the soul that I put in the book. So that's great. Next Digital Classroom Anna Week, when is that? In January? Yeah. And if we have fiber again, we're going to do some in-between sets, but I really need fiber for that. Thank you so very much for watching, guys. If you like what we do, please subscribe to our channel. Smash that like button, because we really like that. And of course, tell other people about it so we can grow this channel. If you have any ideas about stuff that you want to see in the future in Digital Classroom, let me know in the comments below, or just email me at info@frankdorhoff.com, or frank@frankdorhoff.com, or community@frankdorhoff.com. And of course, we need images, because the photo critiques will be a new part of Digital Classroom. Digital Classroom is going to change a little bit. Like I already said, we're going to do some in-between sets with more street and travel photography. We're going to try on location. If everything works out, that's going to be really short episodes, like half an hour. But when we travel, we want to do something like that, and that will be much more down to basics, of course. For now, I'm signing off. If you want instructional videos, we just released a brand new one. And after this, stay on, because I have a competition for you guys. But go to frankdorhoff.com/videos. And if you buy one video, make sure you're going to buy the one I'm going to show you the trailer from now. Because this one is going to change the way that you shoot forever. And again, stay online, because I have a competition for you guys. My name is Frank Doorhoff, and I'm a fashion celebrity photographer based in the Netherlands. But most of all, I love teaching you guys about photography. Now, what is the main ingredient of photography? The model, of course, your camera, but most of all, lighting. Photography is painting with light, telling your story with light. And so light is the most important thing in photography. But still, 99% of the photographers let the lighting control them. While in essence, you as a photographer should be able to control the lighting. And that's why this video is created. It's a video about the essential lighting techniques. The lighting techniques that you should learn. How to create a white backdrop, or how to create a black backdrop. How to make sure that there's still shadow in your lighting. But most of all, how about the essential lighting, like Rembrandt, butterfly, feathering your light, making sure that your model is lit the correct way. In this video, we're going to do all those techniques and way more. Very simple tips about how to control your shadows. We talk about light meters. We talk about my favorite plugins. If you're a starting photographer, this is the video for you. This is where you learn everything you need to know about lighting. And after that, you can start telling your story with great lighting. If you're a professional, I'm sure there are a lot of tips in here that also help you. So enjoy our new instructional video, available now. And we're back, the competition. Okay, are you sitting down? This is only for the guys that watch Digital Classroom live or within a week, because the closing date will be December 31st. Is there a December 31st or is December 30? The last day of December, 12 o'clock. Happy New Year, by the way, and Merry Christmas. What do you have to do? You want to know, right? Okay. If you want to win, and bear with me, if you want to win one instructional video of your choice, so that means that you can buy any instructional video you want from our website, because you can choose another one afterwards. You want to win one? Send us your Christmas card. But there's one little tiny thing you have to do. It has to be a creative one. So send us your Christmas card at info@frankdorhoff.com, or just use the website. And you have to have made it yourself. So shoot it, retouch it, design it, it doesn't matter. But make sure you label it competition, because we get a lot of Christmas cards over the email. But I want to see your creativity. I want to see the best that you got. I want to see the you in that Christmas card. So send us that Christmas card at info@frankdorhoff.com, and I will choose on December 31st or 30th. Sorry, I'm just totally lost it. At 00 for the new year, I will select the winner. Thank you so very much for watching, guys, and We'll see you again next time. And again, subscribe and tell other people about it. Bye, guys. And already, have a very good 2018 and, of course, a Merry Christmas.
See you next year.
See you next year.